Christmas, but I deserve it. Pat? Awesome. This group you had singing? Awesome. I'm thoroughly enjoyed that. Like I said, I don't have the words. You know how I feel about Pat Rock. Thank you. 183. I don't know if I can leave it. 183.
The soul I thought of today what I needed to talk to you about, and I wondered if you could tell us the greatest gift you ever received and when you received it. The greatest gift.
Jesus, 1988.
1988, Jesus is her greatest gift. Does that mean anything to any of the rest of y'all? See, some it doesn't mean anything too, because they don't understand it. They don't get it. Have you ever talked to anybody about something you thought was just incredibly exciting and incredibly important and incredibly intriguing, and they looked at you with this blank look on their face, and you knew you weren't even sure there were any lights on, because you knew no one was at home. Did they even get it? Yeah. And no matter what you said, I love the Darlings on Andy Griffith. Don't y'all? Church folk are like the Darlings from time to time. No matter what happens, boys are talkative today, aren't they? They're kind of excited today, Andy, aren't they? Boys, you played real good today. No matter what you said, you wondered, did they ever get it? All the exciting things that we're having, Darlene, she's all excited, Dud's excited. You know, Barney dresses up in a wedding dress, you know, and acts like an idiot and is laughing. And what was the guy? Ernest T. Bass comes in and does this little thing, and the boys, here they are. They didn't get it. They just no expression at all. And you wondered what was happening inside. A great, great, great skit. They always provided this. And I always have watched those episodes wondering, can I catch any of them just with a little slight grin? And I've looked at them time and again. You can't catch any of them grinning. It doesn't make any difference what took place on the screen. They all had the same. It's amazing. It amazes me. And I think sometimes the way their faces were reminds me of times in my life when I just didn't get it. I don't know where my mind was. I don't know what was going on in my heart, but I just didn't get it. The greatest gift. CC, real quick like, says, Jesus, 1988. And I wonder, do you get it? Do you get it? See, it depends on where you are in life and how in tune your mind is with what's going on as to whether you get it or not. You know, do I still have that little baby back there, or is he gone? He's asleep. See, I was going to use him. I'm looking around. I could use Bo, but Bo may be smart enough to get it. I was looking for one that was so young. No, not you. Not you. Not you. Not Bill. I bet Bill wouldn't get it. I can do it. You set yourself up because you waved at me, friend. Bo, come here a minute. Come here. What is this? What is it? I'm what?
Your allowance.
What is that? What is that? A house, exactly. That's a house right there, isn't it? Exactly. What was that right there? That's a man, exactly. Exactly what it is. Do you know that number right there? What's that number? You know that number? Huh? You're doing so good helping me out. You're just doing this perfect. And that's what's that right there. That's a building. You're exactly right. Buddy, I thank you for that. Thank you very much. Go sit down. Yeah. Now see, I can show this to Paul. What is that, Paul? That's your $100 bill. Yeah. And see, I can show it. What are these? Bill, what kind of bills? How much? What? $100 bills. Yeah. Oh, he got that one. But see, Bo, what did he see? See, I showed him Ben Franklin. Y'all know what Ben Franklin, I don't know what, see, I haven't bought my Christmas gifts yet. There he is. You know what Bo called it? A man. He didn't get it. Turn it over on the back, that's a building.
That's where he lives.
Yeah. Do you see what we do? You got to be at a certain place in life. Certain things have to be going on in your heart. Certain things have to be happening inside for us to get it. Greatest gift you ever got. See, chances are, the reason why you're able, and if you thought about a Christmas gift for just a second, if you thought about a gift that someone gave you one time and you were able to say, man, I remember that gift. Do you know what made that gift special? What made that gift special is that you knew that the person who provided you the gift did something extraordinary, knew something about you, and cared enough to go out of their way to provide this gift. You know what I'm talking about? Now, you know, you open up gifts. I mean, it's amazing to me that we're to the place now that we open up gifts and there's socks and there's ties and well, we got to get dad something, or we got to get mom something, and we just got to provide all these things that people have to open up, and the gifts have little or no meaning because there's little or no thought that goes into them at all. And so we just nonchalantly open them up. But every so often, you'll get a gift. And you'll open it up and you'll say, oh my goodness. You shouldn't. That was so special. And I don't care what age you are, even at Bo's age, that kind of, can I use the word magic? That kind of special magic can occur in our hearts when all of a sudden we realize, wow, what a gift. What a gift. Now, I don't know about you, but I find incredible delight being able to provide that kind of gift and seeing the person open it up, receive the gift, and find this incredible joy that just breaks out on their face, and you caught them off guard. Isn't it great? I mean, don't you love the commercials? I think they're kind of idiotic where you can buy his and hers Mercedes, but you know, I can't think that way. But isn't it kind of neat that the guy's out front on the cell phone and he calls and he says, you know, I can't pick my son up, I can't pick our son up because I'm late, you'll have to pick him up, and she's a bit irritated, but you know, she contains herself and says, well, okay, I'll be there and get him, and she comes out on the step, and when she comes out on the step, there the boy and the husband are standing, and right beside them is this beautiful Lexus or this beautiful Mercedes, and she says, oh. And he says just a little something from the boy and I. And that's a neat thing, because there is something that meant something to her that was extraordinary. When my wife and I were first married, we moved to northern Michigan where it was cold. I called my sister this morning who lives in Noblesville, Indiana, which is about 14 hours south of where we lived in those days. And my sister has 9 inches of snow. They're not having church. It's supposed to be 4 degrees there today. Y'all just thought it was cold outside. We've got springtime in the Rockies compared to what they're getting today. 42-mile-an-hour winds all day today. Isn't that marvelous? Yeah, and when we lived in Upper Michigan, it would get cold. There were times, there was one winter we spent up there where it got up to 0 in about a 10-day period of time. Got up to 0. And who has been there and lived in that kind of situation? Okay. Now some of you ain't got a clue. I can explain it to you and you haven't got a clue. We can talk about it and you haven't got a clue. And my friend, you've got to go there. And you got to spend about, I don't know, maybe a couple, 3 winters. And then let that hit, and then step outside and just go like that. And watch what happens about halfway through you won't get that far, and everything just sort of stops. It freezes. It freezes. I spit one time, Bubba, and it was ice when it hit the ground. I promise. I went out, and I got down a little ball of ice. I thought, you know what they call that? They call that cold. I mean, it was cold. The wind would blow. We'd have snow plows come, and they would plow. They had a plow on the front, a plow underneath. And they would back up and get about 32-mile-an-hour run going and hit that snow, and snow would go everywhere, and the plow would disappear. You wouldn't even see the plow. The whole plow would disappear. And they would just throw that snow and get those roads open, and those roads would stay open for about 4 hours. And that afternoon coming home, you couldn't get back in. Why? Snow blowing right back across. There'd be 4 feet of snow. You could walk on top of the snow right on top of your house. It was cold. Well, I'm a Kentucky basketball fan. Well, I don't know about this year. We're going to have a funeral service. I don't know if we're going to bury a coach, bury a team, bury a tradition. I mean, they're sorry right now. But back in the day, the older I get, the more that back in the day seems to work, Paul. It's amazing how that phrase just sort of helps out from time to time. Back in the day, no TV, you know, back in the 70s. And so I would go out into the car and tune in WHAS on a cold winter's night. So I could listen to Kaywood Ledford and my beloved Kentucky Wildcats as they would run up and down the court. Kaywood was great. Kaywood would come on the air and say, they're moving left to right. My head would go like this. Kentucky's coming down the court. They've got that. Macy's got the ball at the top of the key, passes down low, back out to Macy. Macy shoots a 15-footer, got it. LSU's got the ball going the other way. LSU, they stole the ball. Macy stole the ball. There it goes the other way. Macy got the ball, drive in, score! Write it down. LSU tries to get the ball in bounds, can't get the ball in bounds. Now they're about halfway court. They're at half court. They just made it across the 10-second line. Down they go, penetrate down low. Dwayne Macklin's got the ball, turns, banks it in, and scored. My head would go back and forth in that car. You know, as I'd sit there and I'd be watching because Kaywood's eyes were my eyes. Now you got to understand something. I don't care if it's 30 degrees, 80 degrees, or 40 below zero. It made no difference. Kaywood was going to tell me about the Cats, and I would turn it on. And if WHAS, you know, and there are times when those stations far, far away, they just sort of come and go. And you sit there and you turn it up real loud and get the scores. And you'd hear that about 8 minutes of it, and you'd think, what's the score? And you'd listen, and it'd be 42-36. Oh, Kentucky's ahead. And you'd keep scoring. You'd sit there, and well, my wife, she didn't understand any of that. I don't have a clue as why she didn't get it. I'd tell her, girl, Kentucky won. So, Kaywood called a great game. So, Macy scored in overtime and Kentucky won. So, she didn't get it. She didn't understand. She didn't understand that I'd go out and sit in the car and turn into WLW in Cincinnati, Ohio, when I knew that they were going to have Joe B. Hall on the radio and interview the Kentucky basketball coach because I wanted to know what kind of recruiting he was going to have. Recruiting, for those that don't understand, we all in Alabama, you know what recruiting is. When you sign those ball players out of high school. And I'd listen. And I'd come in the house, and do you know that Kentucky got a commitment today from blah, 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 blah. And she'd look at me like, so? I don't know, we spent 2 or 3 Christmases up there. Cold. Started out with a Dodge Dart. Moved to a VW Rabbit. To tune in the radio. Because the radio inside the house, we lived in a house trailer, it didn't come in. You know? But you could always listen on the radio. And one Christmas, and we made $70 a week. Looking for another job, couldn't find one. Tried to find work, there's only 2,100 people in the whole county. 4 cars that go by your house a day, and you'd hear them go by. If somebody just went by, I wonder who the hell was. That is the truth. That is about the truth. And you know, 18 people in church, 13 people in church, and trying to preach, and she's working as a nurse when she can, and you know, it just wasn't easy. Then you give $10 of that $70 for the church every week, because you pay tithe. So you left with how much? You know, $60. and Christmas came. And she had a box for me, and I wrapped it up and gave it to me. And I opened it up, and it was a special long-distance receiver radio. You got it. I couldn't believe it. I looked at her, I mean, she's beautiful, but I looked at her like, that was incredible. What a thoughtful, she had to do all kinds of research to see if it even made such a radio. And it had a special antenna in the back that was carbonated, rolled, something or other, and it draw it instead. I started getting Havana, Cuba, Bubba. You just turn that thing and turn it just right, and you could hear old Fidel Castro talking, and it was amazing. But I mean, I could sit inside the house and stay warm and listen to my Kentucky basketball games. And in fact, she was listening to me the night that they came back against Kansas with 40 seconds left in the game, and Kansas was up a 7, and Kentucky won on last second shot. I can remember sitting there and listening to it in the radio. I don't know if that was the greatest gift I ever got, but I tell you what, friend, it's pretty high up. She knew how deeply I would appreciate it. She knew what I loved. She knew what I liked. She didn't need to understand why I liked it. She just loved me and knew that that was part of who I was, and went out of her way to try to find a gift that would meet that piece of my heart. And she did it. The greatest gift that you ever got. I don't know what it is. Cece said it was Jesus, 1988. The rest of you sort of nonchalant. Yeah, no, Jesus, 1992. Jesus, 1973. Yeah. And sometimes we miss the specialness of the gift. Now, we can't live in that constant state of awareness all the time. I understand that. There is no way that you can live in that constant state of awareness always. But always, isn't it wonderful for those moments whenever so often your heart gets brought into that place and you realize with, oh, wow, somebody loves me. Somebody cares. Somebody went out of their way for me. Somebody knew enough about me, enough about what I liked, and enough about what I loved to go out of their way to provide for me a special gift. Isn't that neat? Isn't it neat to do that? The scripture verse that we often read when we're little children is John 3:16. I could probably ask you to quote it, and I would imagine the majority of you could quote it, and what parts that you would miss, somebody else would pitch in and fill in the blank spots. But in that one little verse in John 3:16, we're not real sure if these were the words of Jesus or not. It's kind of interesting to try to understand who actually said those words, because right before that, you remember in that same chapter, Jesus is talking to a man called Nicodemus. Nicodemus is asking a very, very important question. What does it mean to have new life? And Jesus said, verily, verily. Well, in the King James he said that, verily, verily. Of a truth I say to you, unless a person be born again, he cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. I don't know about what you would have said, but Nicodemus sounded pretty sane and sensible to me when he said, how in the world is that supposed to take place? What do you mean, born again? If I'm correct in understanding biblical history, I believe that's the first place where that phrase is used to describe the new life we have in Jesus Christ. When Jesus said, you must be born again. And he said, how can a man who is old be born again? Does he enter his mother's womb a second time? There was a thinking back in those days, as it is today, this thing called reincarnation. You know, what goes around comes around. That's where that phrase came from. Reincarnation. Where, I will be born in the next life and I go through the cycle of life and be born again and born and born and born. And Jesus said, no. That's not what I'm talking about. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, but that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Are you wondering why I say to you, you must be born again? For God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, that whoever believes in Him shall not perish, but have life everlasting. Now, as delightful and as energetic and as precious as Bo is, he did not understand the $100 bill. And he does not understand what this means. I look around at those of us who are adults, and I say, do you understand what God did? I don't know if I have a way of understanding that. Was it in a Sunday school class not long ago that Karen spoke up and said, there's no example in real life that illustrates this truth? And I looked around at the class and I said, did you all hear that? And everybody heard that. But I knew from the expression on everyone's face that I'm not so sure we really got what she said. And I said, Karen, could you say that again? And once again she said, do you realize that there's nothing in real life that illustrates this incredible truth? That God loves us unconditionally so much that He gave His one and only Son? And then it sort of dawned on all of us as we sat there that Sunday morning one more time. It registers in our heart. Wow! How do you express this? How do you explain this? How do you understand this? It can't be reduced down to some mathematical formula. It can't be put in some Excel spreadsheet. It can't be stored away in some database. It can't be calculated with special formulas. And I'm telling you what, my friend, you get into some high math, and there's some incredible formulas out there that can show some incredible things. My son came in the other day and said, Dad, we just did something the other day in math theory that was only proven in, what year was it? 1995. I said, what? He said it was only proven in 1995. I said, you're kidding, what was it? He said, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I said, yeah, I got that one. Faith said, what? I said, here, let me explain to you. No, I didn't. No. But, the Pythagorean, whatever that thingamajigger is, a hypotenuse is equal to the sums of the two squares. And the Scarecrow knew it in The Wizard of Oz. Didn't he? When he got a brain? Yeah, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I said, Vince, what did you learn? He said, I learned that it was proven in 1995 that only works with squares and powers of 1. Doesn't work with powers of 3, powers of 4, powers of 5, powers of 6, powers of 7. And you're looking at me like, what are you talking about? And I sort of did that with him as well. And I said, well, a paragraph or two proved that one, didn't it? He said, no, 200 pages of theorems proved that. And he said, that's half of it. And I said, you know what, I don't get that. As elegant and as complex and as sophisticated as that line of reasoning is, it cannot capture what I'm talking about today. You cannot take God loving you unconditionally and prove it with a set of theorems. I don't care if you have 1 page, 10 pages, 20 pages, 200 pages of mathematical theorems. It does not touch it. There is nothing in our world today, no matter how elegant, no matter how sophisticated, that can help us understand and illustrate for us that God loves me unconditionally and gave me His Son. Number one, here's why. I have no idea what it costs. I haven't got a clue what the gift costs. Well, we use a word, And the word is everything. So, what does everything mean to me? What everything means to me and what everything means to you is a little different. Some it means more than others. What's everything? So you try to wrap your mind around it and get your mind wrapped around it and you just can't quite do it. But faith steps in where your mind doesn't and says, I believe. And God says, here's the gift, it's yours. And then you spend the rest of your life, every so often, God bringing you into a cycle that says, wow, I just got it. 6 months will go by and you'll be reading the Bible. 6 months will go by, you'll be listening to a song. 6 months will go by, you'll read some poetry. 6 months will go by, you'll be doing some meditating. And all of a sudden it'll come around again and, I just got it. Well, I thought you got it 6 months ago. Well, yeah, but I got more of it now. And then a year goes by, and 5 years goes by. Before long, Leola, it's not long ago, 30 years goes by. I mean, in a heartbeat, you shoot. And then now at 30 years, you look back and you say, I got it. I understand. Man, it's special. God loves me. Talking to a friend in the hallway yesterday after the wedding, and he and I stood there and talked together. And he said to me almost exactly what Karen said. John Mark, this thing of grace and God loving us unconditionally, there's nothing really in our world that can set us up to understand that. You realize that? I looked at him and I said, Dwight, you're exactly right. The closest that I ever came to grasping that, and it only lasted a few seconds. It happened on 3 occasions. The closest I ever came to experiencing something that helped me understand that was the day when I held our first son. There he was. And for a few seconds, something incredible just, it was something. I don't know what you call it. But something out of nowhere came pulsating from a place that I did not know existed. And came up through my heart and out my fingers and through my mind and through my spirit. And there I was with this baby that could do nothing except make ugly faces and cry and make dirty diapers